Have you guys ever tried to stand up to someone or something much bigger than you? Yeah. Maybe you stood up to a bully or an unfair teacher, or maybe you stood up to temptation. I know I have. I went to a Catholic elementary school that was connected to a public school. And in the early years of this school, the public school kids and the Catholic school kids all rode on the same buses together. Raise your hand if you take or used to take the bus to school. All right, so if you've ever taken the bus to school, you'll know that the back is where all the cool kids sat. Now, I managed to snag a seat at the back of the bus, and this big dude from the public school comes stomping down the aisle a few minutes later, demanding that I get out of the seat so that he can take it. I tell the dude no, and he just picks me up, sits me down in the aisle, and sits down in my spot. Now, at this point, I'm fuming. School has exhausted me, and I just wanted to get home and relax, so I did the first thing that came to my mind. I punched the kid in the face. No, that's not good, guys. That's not good at all. That's not good at all. No. That's not good. All right, that's the message. I'll see y'all later. Okay, so, no, that's bad. I didn't tell the bus driver. I didn't just suck it up and switch spots. I simply punched the dude right in the jaw. Now, this was a very bad... No. Now, this is a very bad idea because the kid was like twice my size. So he quickly rises up out of the seat and just shoves me into another seat in the bus. I had lost. I didn't get to keep my seat at the back of the bus, and what was worse, I had just humiliated myself in front of the whole bus. Now, last week, Jacob spoke about the Sermon on the Mount, which is the greatest and most famous sermon in religious history. In this sermon, Jesus talks about many things like murder, divorce, vengeance, prayer, fasting, and stress, but most importantly, he flipped everyone's expectations of him over their heads. In this section of Matthew, Jesus does three things. He confronts the world, sends out his disciples, and talks about his kingdom. So first off, Jesus confronts the world. This is where chapter 8 begins. Jesus had just finished the Sermon on the Mount and was walking down from the hillside when a leper came up to him. For context, a leper was a person infected with leprosy, a horrific skin disease that caused rashes and blisters to appear all over your skin, and it would numb your arms and legs. The people in those times were terrified of this disease. And lepers would be cast out of society, banished from every city they sought refuge in, and were left to fend for themselves in the wilderness. This unnamed leper bowed down before Jesus and begged to be healed. Jesus puts his hand on the leper and instantly heals his sickness. Jesus, the King of all creation, put his hands on someone that not even the holiest priests of that time would be seen around. This is the beginning of Jesus' confrontation with the world. He begins doing public acts to get his name out there so that people wouldn't be so shocked by his eventual arrival in their cities. He goes on a crazy spree, accepting those that Jewish society rejected and healing the sick. He healed the servant of a Roman commander, and for context, the Romans had been oppressing the Jews for almost a century by this point. Then he healed Peter's mother-in-law, who was a widow. After that, he calms a raging storm by simply telling it to stop. And then, after that, he casts out multiple demons, forgives the sins of many, heals a paralyzed man, a blind man, a man that couldn't speak, and even raises a girl from the dead. People start following this guy everywhere and want to join his crew. I mean, who wouldn't? They just saw him do all these miraculous things to complete strangers. Who knows what he'll do for his best friends? But Jesus tells everyone that tries to follow him that following him comes at a cost. Now, I want you all to discuss this around your tables and be completely honest with yourselves and each other. What are you willing to give up for Jesus? Go. Let's bring it back around. You guys will have more time to discuss this question at life groups. So, what are you willing to give up for Jesus? If your answer isn't something along the lines of, or at least getting to, literally everything I own, you might want to reconsider some things. In Matthew 8:18, two men want to follow Jesus. So they ask to tag along when Jesus prepares to sail across the Sea of Galilee. But he tells them they will have to give up everything and put him first all the time. In the end, neither of these guys end up following Jesus. They threw eternity away just like that because they didn't want to give up a life of comfort. When Jesus confronts us, he tells us to stop living a life of comfort and to start living a life for him. He tells us to take up our cross and live for him. Living for Jesus isn't easy. I will admit, but trust me when I say this, it's the best thing that you can ever do for yourself. After some more miracles and a few more stops in a few cities, Jesus begins to notice something about the crowds. He saw the way the people swarmed him, like moths to a lamp. They needed guidance and latched onto the first source of light that they saw in the world of darkness. So at the end of chapter 9, he gathers his 12 disciples and begins to send them out into Israel. These disciples are listed in Matthew chapter 10, verse 2. They are Simon, also called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James son of Zebedee and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. All right, so Jesus sends out the disciples. Jesus begins to send out his disciples into Israel. He gives them very specific instructions that they are told to follow to a T. They're not supposed to go to the Gentiles or the land of Samaria. Their time would come later. They're to go to the lost sheep of Israel, because Jesus was always meant to preach to the Jews first. He tells them to say, "The kingdom of heaven has come near," and gives them authority to heal diseases and cast out demons, just like Jesus did. They're told to pack nothing. No money, no extra shoes, no extra clothes, just everything they had on them at that very moment. They were supposed to rely on God and the complete generosity of strangers. Jesus also warns them. He tells them that they could be arrested and tortured for these radical new ideas that they were preaching. Some of them, after all, most of them were commoners, some of them even teenagers about my age. And after all, nobody likes it when a poor 18-year-old tells you that you're living life wrong. So he sends them out to be on mission for them. I'm sure the disciples all felt very scared, but they knew they would be safe because they had faith in God. Remember that story about the kid who stole my seat? These disciples were facing people much more powerful than them, but the thing they were facing was not bigger than God. Now, I want you all to discuss this as well. How are you on mission for Christ in your daily lives? Go. All right, so we are called to be on mission every day. In a few weeks, Will is going to talk about something called the Great Commission. I don't want to spoil it, but this is the central part of Christianity, and it is our responsibility as Christians to spread the gospel. The gospel that the disciples were spreading, however, isn't the gospel of the cross, but of the kingdom. They are notifying people of Jesus' arrival and are telling everyone that the king is here to take back his kingdom. After the disciples leave, Jesus goes into the towns in the region of Galilee to preach. In the beginning of chapter 11, people try pressing Jesus and ask him if he really is the Messiah. And so he pretty much tells them to look at what he has done in the lives of others and to figure it out for themselves. I want to focus on this for a little while because this is what we do here at Ebenezer Youth. Our mission here is to follow Jesus for life, and we do that by investigating life further. We're glad you're here, and while we do tell you about Jesus a lot, we aren't forcing you to believe. We're simply giving you the tools to think and decide for yourself. I mean, just look at what God has done in my life, and in Will's life, and in every other leader's life. We have all been radically changed by God, and if that doesn't speak for anything, I don't know what will. Anyways, Jesus keeps preaching. He basically confirms he is what the people have been waiting centuries for, and he says he is more than just a prophet in Matthew chapter 11, verse 9. And at the end of the chapter, Jesus reveals why he is really here on earth. If you have a Bible on you, I invite you to flip to one of the most famous passages in the Bible of all time, Matthew chapter 11, verse 27 to 30. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that. Matthew chapter 11, verse 27 to 30 says, "All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." In the first part of this passage, Jesus claims to know the Father completely. He says he can reveal the Father to whoever he chooses. That means that God's glory can be revealed to anyone who desires a relationship with Jesus. Before this, he thanks the Father for revealing himself to those that Jewish society deemed to be stupid. This is another way he confronts the world and flips it on its head. Before Jesus, it was thought that only the smartest, most holy priests could know God. But now it is revealed that everyone could know God, and the wisest among them were actually the ones that didn't truly know him because of their pride. Finally, Jesus makes an enormous promise. He says that anyone who wants a relationship with Jesus will be released of their burdens and invites everyone to do so. Once again, before Jesus, the religious leaders placed enormous stress on the population. They said no one could know God, and thus the average people struggled every day, hoping God approved of them without actually knowing it. Now, anyone who accepts Jesus will be given a one-way ticket into his kingdom. Finally, Jesus talks about the kingdom. In Matthew chapter 13, Jesus tells some of the most famous stories, otherwise known as parables, in the Bible. These parables are analogies for the kingdom of heaven. He uses these parables to make it easier for the average population to understand and makes the stories easier to relate to. These parables could make a whole series on their own, so I won't go too deep into them, but Jesus compares us to seeds and fish nets. The seeds are thrown all over a field, but will only sprout good crops and good soil, and the fish net catches a wide array of fish, but only the good will be kept and sold. These stories serve as lessons and warnings. The message of Christ, aka the gospel, will go everywhere, but only those willing to accept and turn their lives around for Jesus will make it to the kingdom of heaven. This is the final way Jesus confronts the world, but these lessons aren't just for the world, they're for you. You see, Jesus didn't come only to confront the world, but to confront you. He brings up the uncomfortable truth that without him, you will enter the kingdom of heaven. He confronts us first, but we must confront ourselves and ask ourselves where we are at with him. Now, I want to leave you with these 3 questions. Ask yourselves these questions before you sleep tonight and throughout the rest of your week. 1. How are you confronting yourself for Jesus? 2. How are you confronting the world for Jesus? And 3, how are you seeking the kingdom in everything that you do? And what does that look like for you? What are you doing well in? What can you improve in? Are you challenging yourself to grow deeper in your faith each day? Are you telling everyone you know about the good news? Thank you all for listening. If there is anything you didn't understand, you can ask me during snack time. I will be available there. And please make sure to read Matthew chapters 8 to 13 so that you can understand this message deeper. God bless.